Welcome to Alien Whispers. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Now, let's dive into the story. I slammed my palm against the biometric scanner of Starhaven Lodge, a dilapidated waste station teetering on the fringes of the Nexus 9 system. The device sputtered, its red light flickering like a star on the verge of collapse, before the metal door groaned open with a screech that could wake the dead. The air inside was a gut punch of engine oil and the syrupy sweetness of starbloom, a weed that clung to the cracks of forgotten worlds like this one. "Piece of garbage," I muttered, ducking under the low frame, my combat boots clanging on the pitted floor. After 4 weeks wedged in the hold of a smuggler's ship, I, Colonel Elias Kane, didn't give a damn about comfort. A bed, stained, lumpy, reeking of the drifters who'd crashed here before me, was a palace compared to the ship's metal benches. My armor clung to me like a second skin, its polymer plates chafing as I collapsed onto the mattress. Beneath the gear, my body was a canvas of scars, jagged lines from Arcturus, burns from plasma blasts, each mark a chapter of war and loss. Sleep hit fast, a black void that drowned out the galaxy's noise, until the room's lights blazed on, signaling Nexus 9's artificial dawn. My wrist chrono blinked 6:30, and my stomach roared, demanding fuel. "Room service," I growled into the lodge's AI, voice gravelly from sleep. "Whatever you call breakfast around here. And coffee. Real coffee, not that recycled sludge." "Order received. Delivery in 12 minutes," the AI replied, its monotone as lifeless as the void outside. I peeled off my armor, exposing the lattice of scars across my chest and arms, a roadmap of battles I'd barely survived. In the bathroom's cracked mirror, my reflection glared back, gray eyes shadowed by years of fighting, black hair a tangled mess, a scar slicing my left cheek like a war god's autograph. I splashed cold water on my face, trying to shake the weight of my mission: infiltrate a Concord facility, steal data on their corruption, and get out clean. It was my last chance to make things right, to honor the soldiers I'd lost. The door chimed precisely on schedule. I yanked on a fitted black shirt and called, "Open." But instead of a drone, a slender figure stepped inside, and my soldier's instincts snapped awake, assessing her in a heartbeat. She was alien and beautiful in a way that stopped time. Her skin shimmered like emerald starglass, rippling with light that danced like waves under moonlight. Her hair, a cascade of molten silver, glowed faintly, each strand catching the dim light like a comet's tail. Her sapphire eyes met mine, a mix of fear and fierce resolve, and my breath caught. A gossamer white robe clung to her, tracing soft curves, but my heart twisted at the sight of metal cuffs chaining her wrists, purple bruises stark against her radiant skin. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, rising, my hand twitching toward the pistol on the table. "I ordered breakfast, not a companion." She lowered her head, silver hair veiling her face like a curtain of starlight. In her chained hands, she held a tray with purple bread, a steaming mug of something viscous, a small pot of coffee, and a bowl of glowing fruit that pulsed faintly. "I was sent with your breakfast, sir," she said, her voice soft as wind chimes, trembling with a fragility that made my chest ache. "The lodge master said you might desire additional services." My jaw clenched, rage boiling, not at her, but at the system that chained her like livestock. "Put the tray down and come here," I said, softening my tone to keep her from flinching. She obeyed, setting the tray on a table by the door and stepping forward with delicate steps, as if walking on glass. Up close, her bruises were a brutal map: fresh red welts, older green patches like storm clouds on her luminous skin, some tracing the edges of her cuffs where spikes bit into her flesh. "What's your name?" I asked, sitting to meet her gaze, keeping my movements slow. "Sylvara, sir," she said, her voice clear despite the tremor. "Look at me, Sylvara." "I'm not, sir. Just Elias." She lifted her eyes, and their fathomless blue hit me like a plasma bolt, stirring something I'd thought dead. Hope? Maybe, or something softer I hadn't felt since before the war. "I don't hire slaves," I said firmly. And I don't pay for companions. She blinked, confusion flickering, as if the words were in a language she'd never heard. The lodge master said, I don't give a damn what he said. I interrupted, my voice sharp but not at her. Sit. Eat. You look like you haven't had a real meal in months. Sylvara hesitated, her eyes scanning the room for traps, her posture tense like a deer ready to bolt. I'm not permitted. You are now, I said, splitting the purple bread, its sweet, nutty aroma filling the air. I pushed half toward her, along with a glowing fruit that pulsed like a tiny star. Call an order if that makes it easier. She perched on the bed's edge, a careful distance away, and took the bread with trembling hands. As her fingers brushed mine, her skin flared with light, a wave of emerald starshine spiraling up her arm like a comet's wake. My heart thudded, not just from a shock, but from a deeper pull, as if that touch had tethered us across galaxies. She yanked her hand back, the light fading, but the moment hung between us, heavy with unspoken promises. How long have you been here? I asked, watching her nibble the bread, her movements cautious, like she expected it to be snatched away. 3 months, she said, eyes fixed on the fruit as she sliced it, its juice glowing faintly on her fingers. Since my research ship was ambushed by Clithians, the survivors were sold. I was fortunate to end up here instead of the Epsilon belt mines. Fortunate, I echoed, nodding at her cuffs, their microspikes glinting like tiny fangs. To ensure obedience, she said, her tone flat, as if reciting a fact. Some guests find it thrilling. The chains, the control. My mission was simple. Grab the data, vanish, no entanglements. But looking at Sylvara, her chained wrists, her eyes burning with quiet defiance, I felt a rage so pure it burned away my caution. Not for me, but for her, for the life stolen from her. Finish eating, I said, standing to retrieve my armor from the corner, its plates clanking softly. Then we're having a word with your boss. Her eyes widened, fear flashing like a warning light. Please don't. Zorak will. He won't touch you again, I said, my voice hard as steel. Not while I'm here. She studied me, her gaze softening, and took another bite, her movements steadier. Why are you doing this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't know me. I paused, my hand on my armor's chest plate. Because I'm human, I said. And humans don't stand by when someone's hurting. Not when we can do something about it. Nexus 9's dim light seeped through the grimy window, casting jagged shadows on the scarred metal floor. I knelt before Sylvara, examining her cuffs, Clithian tech, with microspikes that pierced her skin with every twitch, a sadistic leash. Hold still, I said, pulling a multi-tool from my armor, its blue glow reflecting in her eyes. Her breath hitched. Military grade, she whispered. You're not just a drifter, are you? I smirked, working the lock. Let's say I'm on a very long vacation. The first cuff snapped open, revealing raw, bloodied skin, the spikes leaving tiny puncture marks. Damn it, I muttered, my fingers gentle as I checked her wrist, fury simmering in my gut. It's nothing, she said quickly, her voice steady despite the pain. Iva endured vers. You shouldn't have to endure any of it, I said, freeing the second cuff. I crushed them under my boot, the metal splintering with a satisfying crunch. Sylvara rubbed her wrists, light pulsing through her skin like a heartbeat, spiraling from her hands to her shoulders in a radiant dance. I haven't been free since. I can't remember, she said, her voice trembling with a mix of relief and disbelief. You'll get used to it, I said, glancing through the blinds at the dusty courtyard, where rusted haulers and crates baked under Nexus 9's artificial sun. I'll handle Zorak. Stay here, lock the door. He's got enforcers across Nexus 9, she warned, rising with a grace that defied her wounds, her robe catching the light like a veil of stars. Local security's in his pocket. You'll need more than bravado to take him on. I'm not planning to ask politely, I said, checking my plasma pistol, its energy core humming a low, lethal song. Sylvara stepped closer, her light brightening the room, casting soft reflections on the walls. Let me help. I know Zorak's operations, his patrol routes, access codes, even his morning routine in the basement office. I've watched everything since I got here, waiting for a chance. I turned, caught by her beauty, her shimmering skin, her eyes sharp as a blade despite her scholar's title. "All right," I said, leaning against the table. "What's your play?" She laid out Zorak's network with a precision that left me stunned. Guard posts, weapon stashes, blind spots in his security grid, even his obsession with checking profits at dawn. Her mind was a weapon, honed by years of study and survival. "You're incredible," I said when she finished, not hiding my awe. "How does someone like you end up in a hellhole like this?" Her light dimmed, a shadow crossing her face. "We Auralis are scholars, studying bioenergy and galactic history. My ship was mapping a nebula when Clithians attacked. I was the only survivor, sold to Zorak as a curiosity." I took her hand without thinking, feeling the warmth and faint pulse of energy in her skin. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice low, the words heavy with regret for a loss I couldn't undo. The touch sparked something electric, as if our souls had grazed each other. Her skin was silkier than human, warmer, and light swirled from our contact, curling like waves in a cosmic sea. Her eyes locked onto mine, the air humming with intensity. "You're unusually kind," she said, her voice soft but piercing. "Most species I've met take without giving." "Not all humans are kind," I admitted, my thumb brushing her knuckles. "But we try when we meet someone worth it." Her fingers traced the scar on my cheek, light as a whisper, sending a shiver through me. "Where's this from?" "Arcturus," I said. "Shrapnel from a blast. I got lucky." "It suits you," she said, a faint smile curving her lips. "It tells a story of survival, of someone who keeps going." I leaned into her touch, drawn to her strength and softness, her light pulling me like a star's gravity. A blast rocked the hallway, the room shuddering as plasma fire and shouts pierced the walls, smoke curling under the door. I yanked Sylvara behind the bed, her body pressed against mine in the tight space, her breath warm on my neck. "Not Zorak's men," she whispered, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Clithian weapons, sharper resonance. Rival crew, maybe," I said, peering through a crack in the blinds. "Our window. They're distracted. We slip out the back." She nodded, her eyes blazing with determination. "There's a route through the kitchen to the loading yard." I handed her a tactical knife from my belt, its blade glinting. "Know how to use this?" She gripped it with a confidence that surprised me, her light reflecting off the steel. "We're scholars, not idiots. I'm trained in survival. Anatomy's my forte." I grinned. "Note to self, don't cross you." We crept through the smoke-choked hallway, moving like a single unit, our steps synchronized. At a corner, I spotted 3 Clithians, their plasma rifles glowing, claws glinting under flickering neon. Sylvara pulled me into a hidden passage behind a loose panel, her hand tight in mine in the dark, her star bloom scent filling the confined space. "How'd you find this?" I whispered, her warmth grounding me. "I mapped every exit my first day," she said. "Hope's a long shot, but preparation's free." The passage opened into an abandoned kitchen, the air thick with the stench of rotting food and smoke. Through a grimy window, Nexus 9's trade district sprawled, narrow alleys pulsing with neon, stalls packed with traders and thieves, a fleeting sanctuary. But a Clithian loomed at the back door, its red eyes locking onto us, claws flexing. I shoved Sylvara behind a counter, raising my pistol, but it charged, knocking the weapon from my hand. I grappled it, its claws tearing into my shoulder, pain flaring white-hot. Then it froze, collapsing. Sylvara stood behind, my knife buried in its spine, her strike as precise as a surgeon's. "Anatomy, huh?" I said, catching my breath, blood seeping through my shirt. "I might have downplayed my skills," she said, yanking the knife free with a sly smile, her light pulsing brighter. Adrenaline surged, and we stood close, the air crackling with unspoken need. I cupped her face, her skin warm under my fingers, her eyes pulling me in like a black hole. "Worst timing," I muttered, my voice rough. "Or the best," she whispered, leaning into me. "We believe life's brightest in danger." My lips crashed into hers, the kiss fierce and fleeting, tasting of star bloom and a wild, unnameable sweetness. Her skin flared, light bursting like a supernova, drowning out the chaos. When we parted, I pressed my forehead to hers, breathless. "Hell of a start." "Not the end," she promised, her voice a spark that set my blood on fire. The building shook, plaster raining from the ceiling, snapping us back. "When we're out of this," I said, her hand in mine, "we're writing the rest of that story." We bolted into the loading yard, weaving through Nexus 9's chaotic trade district as explosions echoed behind us. The market was a sensory assault. Neon signs flashing in alien scripts, stalls hawking glowing spices, black market tech, and caged creatures that hissed at passersby. The air buzzed with haggling, music, and the hum of hover carts. Near a crowded plaza, a troupe of Auralis dancers performed, their bodies pulsing with light that spiraled like flames, synchronized to deep, rhythmic drums that shook the ground. Sylvara stopped, her eyes alight with a homesick joy, as if she'd stumbled into a piece of Lyrian. "Our dance," she said, grabbing my hand, her light flaring with excitement. "Come on, Elias. One moment, before the world catches up." I hesitated, my soldier's brain screaming about danger, but her radiance was a force I couldn't resist. We slipped into the crowd, joining the dance, our bodies swaying to the primal beat. Her hands found my shoulders, mine her waist, and we moved as one, her warmth seeping through my armor, her light reflecting off me like a private galaxy. The drums pulsed faster, and she spun, her robe flaring, her laughter a melody that drowned out the market's chaos. I caught her, pulling her close, our faces inches apart, her breath mingling with mine. The crowd faded, and it was just us, two souls orbiting in a sea of strangers, her light painting us as one. "Never danced like this on a mission," I said, my voice low, her body pressed against me. "First time for everything," she teased, her eyes twinkling, her light pulsing in time with the drums. The dance grew wilder, the crowd cheering as the Auralis troupe leaped and spun, their light weaving patterns in the air like a living aurora. Sylvara matched their steps, teaching me with a gentle tug, and I followed, clumsy but willing, her laughter spurring me on. For a moment, we were free, lost in the rhythm, her light and my scars a perfect contrast, a story told in motion. A scream shattered the spell. Zorak's enforcers pushed through the crowd, plasma rifles raised, their black visors scanning for us. "Time to go," I said, pulling Sylvara behind a stall piled with glowing crystals. We sprinted through the market, dodging traders and toppling crates, the enforcers' shouts close behind. I vaulted over a hover cart, Sylvara matching my pace, her robe billowing like a comet's tail. A plasma bolt scorched the ground near us, and I tackled her into an alley, rolling behind a stack of barrels as more shots rained down. We scrambled into a cramped storage shed, the metal door slamming shut, plunging us into near darkness. Her body pressed against mine in the tight space, her breath rapid, her light a soft beacon. "Too close," she panted, but her eyes danced with mischief, her light flaring as she caught her breath. "Not close enough," I said, and her laugh was a spark in the dark, bright and alive. I brushed a strand of silver hair from her face, my fingers lingering on her cheek, feeling the pulse of her energy. "You're insane, you know that? Dancing in the middle of a manhunt," says the man who joined me. She shot back, her voice playful, her light swirling around us. "Admit it, you loved it." "Guilty," I said, leaning closer, the air electric. I kissed her again, slower this time, savoring the starbloom's sweetness, the warmth of her lips, the way her light flared like a supernova, wrapping us in a cocoon of starshine. Her hands slid to my neck, pulling me deeper, and for a heartbeat, The galaxy was just us, two rebels stealing a moment from fate. The shed's door rattled, enforcers shouting outside, and we broke apart, breathless. "Rain check," I said, grabbing my pistol from the floor. "Promise?" she asked, her smile daring, her knife ready in her hand. "Count on it," I said, kicking the door open and firing, dropping an enforcer before he could aim. We ran, weaving through alleys until the shouts faded, the market's chaos swallowing our trail. We reached a safe house in the industrial sector, disguised as a repair depot, its exterior rusted to blend with the surroundings. I punched in a code, and a wall slid open, revealing a compact apartment, bed, console, armory, and a faint hum of shielded tech. "Terran intelligence outpost," I said, locking the door with a new code. "Off-grid, invisible to scanners." Sylvara explored, her fingers tracing the console, her light flickering with curiosity. "You're more than a soldier, aren't you?" she asked, her voice soft but probing, her glow casting patterns on the walls. I shed my armor, revealing a sweat-soaked undershirt, my scars stark under the light. "Special Forces. Officially on leave. Unofficially, I'm here to steal data on Concord corruption, illegal mining, exploitation of worlds like yours. They're bleeding places like Lyrian dry. Alone," she said, her voice heavy with understanding. "So they can cut you loose if you fail." "Smart and stunning," I said, not hiding my admiration, a grin tugging at my lips. Her cheeks glowed green, like a meteor's trail. "There's a steam bath there," I said, nodding at a door, noticing the dust and blood on her robe. "Sonic or vapor, your call. Locker's got clean clothes, tech uniforms, good for blending in." She paused, her expression softening, her light dimming with vulnerability. "In Auralis culture, steam baths are sacred, shared only with family, or," she hesitated, her eyes locking onto mine, the unspoken word hanging between us. "Lovers," I said quietly, stepping closer, the air charged with possibility. "Your people have beautiful traditions," I said, drawn to her light like a ship to a star, my voice low. "And yours?" she asked, her voice a whisper, but carrying a gravity that pulled me in. "We believe intimacy is freedom, not chains," I said, tucking a silver strand behind her ear, feeling its warmth. "When it's right, you feel it like a pulse in your soul." I pressed my hand to my chest, my heart racing. She mirrored me, her hand on my heart, fingers brushing my shirt. "Your heart's faster than mine," she said, her eyes glowing like twin nebulas. "Not just biology," I admitted, my voice rough with truth. She led me to the steam bath, vapor rising like star mist, swirling in glowing eddies. Her skin's light painted waves on the walls, each movement a silent symphony. We sat close on a metal bench, steam clinging to her hair, silver strands glinting with droplets. I spoke of Earth, its emerald forests, sprawling cities, the wars that scarred it. She described Lyrian, where gardens of light bloomed under twin suns, now strip mined by the Concord for luminite, the bioenergy in Auralis skin. "It powers us," she said, touching her arm, her light pulsing. "But if it's taken, we fade like stars burning out." Her skin was warm as I traced a fading bruise on her shoulder, my touch gentle. "Your people carry pain on the outside," she said, her fingers following a scar across my chest, where a blade had nearly ended me. "Ours is in our nerves, replaying memories with every touch." "Sounds worse," I said, my voice thick. "Not always," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Joy's stored too, as vivid as the first moment. Every laugh, every touch, lives in us forever." My pulse quickened at the implication. Our laughter mingled with the steam, dissolving the day's weight. We stepped out, wrapped in robes, the room's light softening to a warm glow, her radiance its heart. I poured 2 glasses of Terran whiskey from a flask. "Our custom," I said, handing her one. "To new bonds, whether allies or more." She sipped, her eyes widening as the liquor burned. "It's fire," she said, "but warm like a star's heart. Like a lot of human pleasures," I said, winking, and her light flared across her cheeks. We sat close on a couch, whiskey warming us, chasing away Nexus 9's chill. I shared tales of my pre-war days, chasing stars without a rifle. She spoke of Auralis libraries, where knowledge glowed in crystals, each holding eons of lore. This mission's everything, I said, my hand finding hers, feeling her energy's pulse. The Concord's looting worlds like Lyrian, exploiting people like you. My data can expose them, force change, and save my people, she said, her eyes fierce. Luminide's our life. I'm with you, Elias, for all of us. She leaned into me, her warmth a fire against my side. Tomorrow, we fight, she said, her voice a vow. Tonight is ours. Her kiss was whiskey and starbloom, fierce and sweet. I deepened it, my fingers untying her robe, the fabric slipping to reveal skin like a night sky. Her light blazed, pulling me into a moment beyond want, a gratitude that in this broken universe we'd collided. Dawn streaked the safe house windows in green and purple, Nexus 9's artificial light filtering through. Sylvara slept against my chest, her light pulsing with her breaths, a private constellation. I grabbed the data slate, reviewing the plan to infiltrate a Concord orbital station where my target data waited. My access code had a 15-minute window at sunrise, a razor-thin margin. You're thinking too loud, she murmured, stirring, her silver hair a tangled halo. I chuckled, brushing hair from her face, my fingers lingering on her skin. Bad habit. Too much planning, not enough rest. She stretched, her light blazing, as if our night had rekindled her. Last night, she said, her eyes glowing, was new. Human passion. It's like flying through a nebula, wild and free. Humans are good at wild, I said, pulling her close. But your heart, the way you make me feel alive, that's a miracle. The slate pinged, data relocated, security upgraded, orbital target confirmed. Trouble? She asked, reading my frown. Par for the course, I said, projecting a hologram of the station, a steel fortress glinting among the stars, its solar wings gleaming like a predator's. We infiltrate, grab the data, get out. But if Zorak's onto us, that window's gone. She pointed to a classified project sector. Zorak mentioned Aurora Veil, tied to harvesting my people's energy. If it's Luminite, we need answers. A chill hit me. That's no corruption. That's genocide. We find out, she said, her eyes steel, a warrior in light. We geared up fast. I donned armor, checking weapons, while she slipped into a technician's uniform, sleek but discreet. At the door, she pressed a hand to my chest. Last night created a neural resonance, she said. I'll feel you anywhere in the cosmos. Then I'm coming back, I said, cupping her face, tracing her light. I'm not done with you, Sylvara. Our kiss was a promise, her light flaring like a starburst. The universe weaves connections, she said, pulling back. Maybe that breakfast order wasn't chance. Best meal I never ate, I said, her laugh chasing away the shadows. My code got us onto a shuttle, piercing Nexus 9's atmosphere to the orbital station. It loomed through the viewport, a metal citadel, its hull reflecting starlight, bristling with turrets. Security cleared us too smoothly, and I muttered to Sylvara in a gleaming corridor. Too easy. Smells like a trap. Your intel might be that good, she said, but her eyes tracked hidden cameras, her light dimming with caution. We slipped into a control room, screens pulsing with data. Sylvara hacked the mainframe, her fingers a blur over holographic controls. Financials downloading, she said. Searching Aurora Veil, found it. The screen flared red, then green, revealing Auralis biology. Luminite-powered dreadnoughts, but extraction killed them slowly, draining their essence. They knew, she whispered, rage trembling in her voice. They're slaughtering us for fuel. Another file showed 12 Auralis held nearby as specimens. My kin, she gasped, her lights surging like a storm. The door hissed open. I raised my pistol, facing a tall woman in a Concord uniform, silver hair tight in a bun. Stand down, Colonel Kane, she said, her voice sharp. General Mira Voss. You're messing with my op, I said, not lowering my weapon. I'll let you in, Voss said, holstering hers. I need to know what you've got on Aurora Veil. A death machine, I said, nodding at the screen. The Concord's killing a species for warships. We're on the same side, Voss said, her eyes haunted. I've been building a case to end this. I lost my family in an Arcturus experiment. Same playbook covered up. I trust her, Sylvara said, her hand in mine, her light a quiet endorsement. Voss inserted a data key. I'll get you to the detention block. Free them, take the data, get out. But hurry, security's tightening. We moved through polished corridors, Voss's codes bypassing locks, but the air grew heavy, like a storm brewing. The detention block was a maze of sealed cells, 12 Auralis chained to extraction rigs, their light fading like dying stars. Sylvara shook but worked fast, freeing them with precision, singing Auralis lullabies that shimmered like starlight. Kale, a young Auralis, clutched her hand, his light flickering. You came for us, he said, his voice frail. We're going home, she vowed, her light a beacon, strengthening them. Alarm screamed, red lights flashing. Biometric sweep, Voss said, checking her slate. They're onto us. The corridor exploded in plasma fire, black armored guards swarming. Voss and I held them off, my pistol dropping 3, her rifle blazing. Sylvara and Kale led the Auralis to the docking bay, but a second squad cut us off, their Clithian leader aiming at Sylvara. Voss charged, tackling him, her knife flashing. Go, she shouted, shoving the data key into my hand. Free Alliance coordinates. Make it worth it. She sealed the bay door, facing the enemy alone. Our transport roared to life, escaping as the station shrank behind us, swallowed by the nebula's glow. In the med bay, Sylvara healed the Auralis, her light merging with theirs in a luminous symphony, a Lyrian ritual of renewal. She touched each, channeling luminite, their glows reviving. I watched, heart full, marveling at her strength. Healing resonance, Kale said, is light steady. She's bound to you, a rare harmony like stars in sync. Hard to miss, I said, smiling my eyes on her. Sylvara approached, weary but radiant, her light soft. They'll live, she said, leaning into me. I held her close, kissing her hair, breathing her starbloom scent. You're a miracle, I whispered. In our cabin, we lay on a bunk, her light pulsing with my heartbeat a private dance. I'd lost hope, she said, her voice soft. That tray was my surrender. I wanted coffee, I said, tracing her cheek. Got the love of my life instead. Her laugh was starlight, and she kissed me, fierce and sweet, her light flooding the room. Eternal resonance, she whispered. Our souls aligned. Love, I said, holding her. Same thing. 6 months later, Aurora Station shone in a nebula's embrace, hosting 27 worlds to sign the interspecies Freedom Accord. I, Ambassador Kane, stood with Sylvara, her Auralis robes glowing, her light a beacon. Voss's data ended Aurora Veil, forcing Concord reform, freeing the Auralis. The old Concord failed, I told the assembly, but we forged a new path built on justice. The accord passed, Sylvara's hand in mine, her light pulsing. On the observation deck, she leaned into me, the nebula vast before us. From a breakfast order to this? She asked, her eyes stars. Best upgrade ever, I said, kissing her, her light flaring, eternal. A message pinged. Aurora Veil's last conspirator arrested. Good news, she asked. The best, I said. Our universe starts now. A breakfast order sparked a revolution, a love beyond stars. The universe knows what you need, even if it's not what you asked for.